So let's play a hypothetical. Let's say someone has a product out there. The product costs $34.
Okay.
What would you do?
First.
Hi guys, welcome back to Nisnas HQ. This time we're going to have a short conversation with Eran Beck. The Beck or Back?
Beck.
Beck, good. I always get these wrong. The founder of Green Inbox. Green Inbox does marketing for Kickstarter projects, specifically via Facebook. So we're going to be discussing a little bit about how we go about using marketing as a strategy and marketing in general for Kickstarter projects. So let's just start off. So Eran, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about Green Inbox, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sure. So Green Inbox was founded in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
It started as a side project. I was helping a friend, Eran.
Mm-hmm.
He ran a Kickstarter. He raised $50,000, but he didn't get anything because his goal was $120,000. And once
what year was this? 2013?
2013, it was a video game.
Mm-hmm.
When his campaign ended, I thought maybe we can spin off some of the services, especially the Facebook Messages service, and to turn it into a standalone service.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent some messages to random Kickstarters. I went to bed. I woke up in the morning and I got a few orders on PayPal. And this is how it's all started.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, we've added some services. Maybe you used one of them. We've added Twitter messages, LinkedIn messages, an whole bunch of messages, Gmail, and so on. And we've also added the cross-promotion service, Facebook ad service, PR service. And making a long story short, we're no longer providing any of those services. We're only doing right now only Facebook ads and only for Kickstarters.
Right. So you started at 2013 with kind of like a full array of services that you kind of tried to pioneer on your own. And as time went on, you decided to focus more and more on Facebook ads.
We did,
which is where you're at now.
Yeah, we did the shift in this year, 2019. January 2019, and we stopped providing all of those other services, and we're only providing the Facebook ads for Kickstarters. Another shift we've made is before we were working with 10 or 12 campaigns at the same time, and we're now working only with 4 campaigns at the same time, and only with campaigns that we believe that they can reach $1 million or at least $500,000.
So you're working with 4 campaigns at a time, and how many annually? How many per year?
Well, we just made the shift, but I think 2019 it was less than 20 campaigns so far. And since we made this shift, I think things are going much better. We did 6 campaigns that raised around $1 million or more.
No way, in 2019?
Yeah, in 2019.
Oh, cool. And only in Kickstarter?
Only in Kickstarter, and I think it will be interesting to share what we learned so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot that we want to touch on here, and obviously we won't have time for all of it, but a few things come to mind. So one theme that we'll be going through is the changing atmosphere, the changing scenery in Kickstarter, like going all the way back, like for us, it's going back to 2012, but like going all the way back to the beginning of Kickstarter and then where we're at today, and then trying to see how your services changed essentially with the system. That's really interesting to us. And also I want to hear examples of some of the projects that you're talking about. So why don't let's pick one, and then tell us a little bit about it, and maybe we can work back from that and share tools for understanding how to build a project like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I want to relate to what you said, I think Kickstarter, internet, e-commerce, everything is moving so fast. Something that you're doing right now, let's say the thing that we're doing right now, in 2 years, I think we'll evolve. We'll change some things. Maybe we'll have another chat in 2 years. I think it will be a completely different business.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, let's put it on the calendar 2 years going ahead.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you want me to pick a project?
Sure,
we can.
just so that we can, maybe share about it, learn from it.
Yeah, okay, sure. We can talk about CleanseBot. It's a robot.
How do you say that?
CleanseBot.
CleanseBot?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a robot that cleans your bed. Like
Cool.
iRobot that cleans your house.
I think I saw that.
So like a robot that cleans your bed.
That goes under your sheet.
Go under your sheets, go under your pillow. In your home or hotel.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that are traveling a lot, and they apparently not all beds in all hotels are clean.
I think that's a good understatement for today. Good.
And it's like a robot that sanitizes your sheets, the pillows, and so on.
Oh, cool. Interesting. Well, I mean that definitely sounds like something that anybody would want. I mean, it's a real issue, so that makes sense. So, like any major takeaways from that project that you think are worth sharing? I mean, we'll get later to like more tips on that, but
so
why this project more than others?
We look at project in a very analytical way. It's all numbers. In the end of the day, it's all numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Some takes that we take from, I personally didn't want to work with that campaign. I didn't believe. No, I didn't think people would. I didn't think people would want that. Like I showed it to some friends, and they told me it's crap. Nobody would know before they launched.
Yeah.
And they said it's nobody would back this campaign. But there were like two people from our team that said, I want that, not aggressively. Like I really want that. And the other, let's say the other 7-8 people said, no way. So it was like a bit controversial, but when someone says, I want that, I'm willing to pay for that, it means that project has potential.
And you were saying analytical. So what were the analytical parts about this?
So when you start a project, it's almost impossible to predict unless you do. They did pre-launch ads, collecting emails and some stuff.
Oh, they did.
They did that on their own, and according to according to what they said, I think they could did that a bit better. And we didn't have access to these numbers, so it's very hard to predict how a project will work until it starts.
Yeah,
and then you can see some numbers, you can see some conversion rate, you can see the return on the ad spent, and additional numbers, and then you can predict more or less how well it can perform.
So like the conversion rates were really good for this, like from the get-go?
Yeah. The first few days, I think it was crazy returns. I think you had I saw one of your previous videos. You were talking about 1 to 3.
Yeah.
This project started with 1 to 10, and it stayed like that for a few days.
Okay, stop.
Yeah, it's a very good number.
No, that's insane. That's an insane number, especially today. So it was 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
All right. Well, I mean, it's worth stopping, I guess, on this point. I mean, if you have a 1 to 10 return on any Kickstarter project, right? Talk about being analytical. I mean, that's beyond. So that's amazing. So if you have that, I mean, that's sign number one that you have a winner on your hands. Right?
That's a winner. Yeah, that's definitely has the potential to be a winner.
Yeah.
I would like to share that I think all the something that in common with all the $1 million campaigns, the first few days, the ROAS, return on ad spend, was extremely high. Even in some project was 1 to 15 or 1 to 20. Extremely high. So it's very easy to run those numbers, But let me add something really quick. When we start slow. We don't want to spend thousands of dollars on the first day or two because we're still not sure what's working and what's not.
And so you're calibrating the ads as well.
Yeah, we're calibrating, understanding what image or video is working and so on. A lot of testing, audiences, and so the budget are relatively low when you start. So on low budget, on let's say $300, $500, $1,000.
Yeah.
You can not easily, like, most campaigns don't reach don't reach these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start scaling up the budget, the return, the numbers will not keep on 1 to 10.
Of course
It's
not.
gonna go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we could get into detail on how to, I mean, I don't want to be like full on like, you know, analytics throughout like a month long project, although that is interesting. We just don't have the time for it. But it is really interesting to see like what the return on ad spend is like right in the beginning, and then you push more funds into it, and obviously it goes down, and how you play on that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting topic, but I think we won't have time for it. So definitely for our next chat, maybe 2 years down the line, maybe. All right. So that project is over, done?
Yeah, it's ended in January.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to talk about another project or?
I think. Well, so first of all, apologies that I'm looking at my notes here on my phone because that's really the most economical way of doing it. But we want to touch on a couple of things. So the first one is the change from 2015 to 2019. So we kind of touched on that a little bit, and the way that that Green Inbox changed their tools as well. So I want to go back to a chat that we had a little while ago about the efficacy of Kickstarter ads. How effective are they? And what we noticed, and this is why I think it's really interesting that you talk about the 1 to 10 conversion on Facebook ads, because what we've noticed is that things tend to plateau. The Facebook ads, I think once you have a killer project, they're super effective. What happens if you don't? You know, like, let's say you have something that's like, okay, so you're cherry picking the very, very best projects, but I have a feeling that a lot of people watching us now, they're going to have like somewhere in between, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Okay, yeah.
Tell me about the not like the Lamborghini project, but tell me about like the Toyota Corolla project.
Okay,
right?
so yeah.
What's the efficacy of Facebook ads in that regard?
Okay, yeah. So there's two things I would like to relate to. First of all, 2015 Facebook ads were much easier. I think you could have an okay project, okay images and so on. There were not so many people using Facebook ads at that time. Really quick, the way that Facebook ads and Google ads and also maybe other ads providers are working, that it's like a bidding. It's like a bidding mechanism. So if you have more people bidding, if you have more agencies bidding on the same people or same planet Earth, the bids are going to go up.
Of course.
So if we go a few years, it could the same audience, same image, everything's the same. 20 cents or 10 cents 4 or 5 years ago. Right now, the price will go up and will be like 50 cents or even more than that. So that's one thing about what's happening with Facebook ads and Kickstarter in the last few years. That's one thing. The second thing is you have to optimize. I think one of the things you have to do right now in 2019, everything needs to be optimized. Facebook also added a layer of relevance score. It means that your photo really needs to be cool. It needs to be relevant for the audience, and the price, the one of the factors for the price per click or the PPC or PPA per action, or in our case per price per backer. It's related to the creative, to the image, and how the people react to that. Usually, if there's a good feedback, the price will go down.
So creative is more, would you say creative is more important in 2019 than it was in 2015?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody improved their creative. You have companies like Bidalgo and others that have hundreds of employees, and part of them are doing the creative. This is their competitive edge.
Right. One thing that comes to mind as far as creative goes, because we keep coming back to this point a lot. So we've been at this for a while. At Nisnas Industries, we've been at this for a while, since 2010, I think, or 2011. And we've had, I think, our biggest failure, I think, Max, would you say, was with our most creative attempt? Maybe. Like, we went like crazy on like being super, super creative. And we actually have friends who were who did a similar project to us. For us, it was with a project that we did with colleagues. A friend of ours had a speaker that he worked on, which was super like
What is the
cutting
name
edge and creative. I mean, it doesn't so much matter because it's something that failed completely. But it was like, the film it had a lot of like imagination, a lot of like, let's be different, all of these things. And it was like, bang, like no good.
Okay, maybe too different.
Maybe
too different. Maybe too weird right now for this specific audience.
So like, would you say there's like a sweet spot between being like ultra weird and being like boring?
Yeah, don't be boring. Definitely don't be boring. But also being like, as you say, too creative, too crazy might as well bring the same results as being boring.
Yeah, I think that's pretty decent advice. Where were you a year ago? That's good advice. All right, let's talk pricing. I think I think that's really interesting for us, and I think for a lot of people who struggle with pricing in general. I think pricing fits into the Kickstarter project early on, and then affects the entire strategy as we go.
Yeah.
How would you start a pricing strategy for a product?
Okay, so like a common conversation we usually have with the creator before the campaign goes live. You know, when Kickstarter, once the campaign goes live, it's very hard to play with the pricing. You can...
Once it's live.
Yeah, once it's live, you can play with them a bit, but it's
Why is that?
That's Kickstarter rules that
but you can stop a reward. And
you can play with that. You can play. Yeah, you're like more experienced, so you know how to limit the reward. So you can maybe increase or decrease the price. But like really short and quick, we usually recommend. It's not only related to Kickstarter. I think it's related to e-commerce in global. We like the 30%, 33%. Like if your product, if it costs you $30 to produce the price, production, production, go to China, whatever, or here in Nisnas Industries, I would say, okay, $30 goes to production, $30 goes to marketing, and $30 should be revenue for the creator if you're running a Kickstarter.
That's your base.
That's your base. I think you could hear that. You can read, some industries could be more or less, but more or less this is like something that we like to recommend to our clients.
Like at the very minimum. And would you say below that, no go?
Listen, some campaigns say, I don't care about the profit. I just care about getting to the market, getting as many people as possible to use my product. And I'm planning to open an e-commerce site, and then I'm going to do the profit. We usually don't like this approach. I don't think it's a healthy approach, but some say that. We prefer the third approach. I think it's a very healthy approach.
Well, this is an issue that we've been discussing pretty lively amongst ourselves, and then with our colleagues and other folks who've been here in an interview. So I'll start with like the end of it. Like folks who want to do a project that isn't about revenue. It isn't about making money. It is just about getting out there. I think that's all right. I mean, if you want to do that. And sometimes that even makes a lot of sense. And that's perfectly fine. And I'd actually love to discuss that with you and see what that looks like. But let's put that aside for a minute.
Okay.
What we've noticed is that in all of our projects, if we don't have not 30%, but 25%. In other words, we don't split it up 30-30-30 or 33-33-33. We split it up in quarters.
Okay.
And that's our bare minimum. And the reason we do that is because For us,
What's the other quarter is going for?
it's not another quarter. It's
Okay.
just that all hell breaks loose during the campaign. Like that's the difference between like an amazing project, like the bed robot. How do you say
CleanseBot.
CleanseBot. Thank
Okay.
you. Between CleanseBot and between like our projects have always been around $150,000,
Okay.
and we've never really tried to challenge that ceiling. But for us, it was always like in the middle there was like a lot to do all of a sudden. It was like, let's push this avenue or that avenue, or let's spend our money on this and then hope that something would happen. So there's like 25% of like, a big question mark of let's
okay.
do something.
Okay.
Or shipping could be crazy or God knows what.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, that's the
Like
whole-
a margin for who knows.
Yeah, crazy margin.
Yeah.
Like of God knows what will happen.
Yeah.
So for us, our go no go was in quarters. Was like 1 to 4
Okay.
essentially. In other words, 25% make the product and then everything else.
Yeah. So let me be clear about that. When I say 33%,
Yeah.
some creator would say I want to keep it on 35. Some would say 25.
Yeah.
It's just just a number around that number. I think it's a healthy margins, but it can be more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Some say, hey, I want a 50% profit for myself for the company. Okay, that's how you divide it. That's okay. But usually we like to see like around the third number.
Right. And about pricing, let's say the project already started, so you have it up and running. This is something that we discussed a little bit earlier. Tell me about pricing once you're live. You can kind of like see what works and what doesn't in the first few days.
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
So regarding the price, we usually recommend, let me just go a step back. I think we usually like to work with campaigns that there are between the $55 and $75 dollars. This is something that we usually like. Or if we see a project below that, we know that it's going to be very hard to push this campaign, because with the ads, it's going to be a bit harder. We can get into the math about it if you want.
What about above it?
It's better. It's not as good as 55 to 75, but it's better. Campaigns that with $300 or $400 rewards can work. They need to have a significant value, like offering, but it also can work.
So tell me why. Why between 50 and 70? Because I think that's really good advice, and it's something that we've been wondering a lot about as well.
Okay.
So why is that the sweet spot?
I think before it was 50, but now it's went a bit to 60, and I'll explain why.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain amount you need to pay to bring a backer. Now, even if your campaign is fully optimized, video is super cool, 1 minute video, everything is optimized, the cover photo, the ads.
Yeah.
It's still, you would need to, it will cost you, there's a minimum per click.
Yeah.
And there's a minimum, like you're going to bring a few people, and let's say 1 out of 10 or 20 people, if you're fully optimized, is going to buy the product in the best case scenario.
That would be more than amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be more. Usually it's around 2-3%, or even lower than that. So if your product is, let's say, $40, and it's going to cost you like around $10 to bring a backer, so you're already below the 1 to 5 return on ad spend. The one usually we like to aim to the 1 to 5 return on ad spend. And I think you can achieve that only if your average reward is around $55-$60. Again, as I said before, a few years ago, the clicks were cheaper. You could get a client maybe a bit cheaper. Now we used to say 50. Now we say $60, or let's say $55-$60 to $75. That's a very good reward level.
Oh, cool. So would you say if someone has so let's play a hypothetical. Let's say someone has a product out there. The product costs $34.
Okay.
What would you do?
First of all, we'll try. Okay, that's okay that you have the minimum reward on $34. Try to maybe have a bundle. sell a 2 or a 3 in a better price around $60, and try to increase the average rewards towards the $50, $60. We had a conversation about that, if you remember, about the...
our mutual friend who's also one of our guests here, Elad, who had a fantastic project. He's actually a good test case for this. This is in the previous conversation that we had. He had a fantastic wallet. It was just fairly inexpensive, and he just did a bundle of 2 and 3, and he was off and running.
Yeah, so definitely
that made all the difference for him.
Yeah, so definitely try to increase your average reward by bundling up, selling 2 or 3. That's one advice, that you want to encourage people buying 2 or 3.
Right.
Or even think about thinking out of the box. Try to think about $200 or $300 rewards. Let's say, for example, for the wallet, it has like a wallet with creative. Maybe doing a special creative for your company, like selling wallets with your logo or something like that, that you can have a higher rewards that in the end of the day or the end of the campaign, the average reward will be more than $34.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. Like, I think finding a way to do bundles right is really a way to be able to get your ROAS done in the maximal, in the best possible way. So I think that's really good advice. But I mean, that's one more thing that we can really get into forever.
Yeah.
But bundles are key. Bundles are really key. So we started in 2010, no bundles, and today everything that we do is either sell them in 2 or 3 or 4 or what have you. Let's switch gears quickly and talk about. So you run an agency, right?
Yeah.
And one that we've had very good success with. You guys have done very well by us in our previous projects. I'd like to hear from you. How, if you were a creator, how would you choose an agency? What would guide you when you decide? I mean, we've discussed several agencies over our past couple of interviews. What would you say?
I'm still not sure if to call Green Inbox an agency, but it's okay. We're an agency, but I like to see us as
what would you call it?
I see us as a technology company. Agency. We're probably an agency if you want it or not. So you're saying let's say I'm now a creator, how would I choose the agencies or the marketing entities that I work with?
Maybe I should clarify the question. I mean, I think what you do is a very needed service in Kickstarter. Without it, you're not going anywhere. That's the reality today. If you don't have a partner who will do Facebook ads for you, your project will not work. So how do you get the best players?
Yeah, I think there's if I will relate to that and really quick, I think there's two, looking at the dashboards on Kickstarter, you can see where's the money coming from. So you can see that most of the money is coming from the campaigns that we did, the $1 million campaigns, most of the money is coming through Facebook ads. And I would say maybe the biggest chunk is coming from Facebook ads, and the second biggest chunk is coming from Kickstarter discovery channels. That's the second biggest source.
What would you say is how much bigger from Facebook?
It's really related to campaigns on the dashboard. Like one campaign that I had in mind is around 50% coming from ads and around 30% or 35% coming from Kickstarter.
And all the rest organic.
Maybe an article here, cross promotion, other small stuff that can, all kinds of small stuff, Google search and so on. So that's one thing. So Facebook ads. There's also other players that one thing that you need to understand. So definitely you need an agency for. You can do Facebook ads alone. I don't think that's smart. It's very hard to compete with an agency that did hundreds of campaigns. I think it's better to hire an agency for Facebook ads. But there's also other avenues. So you definitely want to hire maybe some companies that do newsletters and so on. That different avenues that there's almost zero overlap newsletter and Facebook ads. And besides that, if you have like a unique angle, you want to do PR and maybe affiliate marketing, cross promotion, and maybe some other small stuff that I do. Yeah.
But
how would I approach
but just before you get to that, I mean, one thing that what you're saying, this kind of like underscores what you said in the beginning of why you do Facebook ads now. Because if you take a look at the numbers,
50%.
It's affiliate and then cross promotion, all of that is so small that makes perfect sense. So back to how to choose an agency.
Okay, so as you already know, maybe not everybody is familiar. We can maybe get into that. But Kickstarter have a really nice dashboard where you can see where's their money coming from. So when you work with an agency or a marketing entity, you can track the funds that's coming in. And one of the things that if I were a creator, I would like to work with as a success-based model. This means that the agency is getting paid for what they bring in, not giving. So that's one of the things as a creator, with all the avenues that I mentioned, like trying to work on a success-based model according to we know that it's obvious for us, but not everybody is familiar with that.
We should really stop and explain that because it shouldn't be obvious. So there are agencies that either they're not transparent enough about where the funds come from, or they'll take money off the top and not from what they bring in, and then say, well, let's say we came in at this date and we'll take everything from here on in and take 35% off of that. And there are quite a few of them, and we mentioned them by name last time. So being success-based is, I think that's key. That's really, really important. And on top of that, after you're success-based, you also, maybe we should touch on this really quickly, about the discrepancy between the Kickstarter tracking and then Google tracking, and how you go about managing the two, because that's definitely a burden that creators have all the time. So how would you manage that?
We used to work with Google. We used to have like a section, Google and Kickstarter, and once we get into, we learned, we got into the details, understanding better Google Analytics and so on. We only work with Kickstarter, and I'll explain why. Google Analytics.
You only work with the
Kickstarter dashboard.
Not in the Google Analytics.
Yeah, in the past we also used to use Google as a reference.
Yeah.
I'll explain why it's dangerous.
Okay, yeah, please do. Go ahead.
In the end of the campaign, you're getting paid according to what you raise on Kickstarter. You raise $1 million, you're going to get $1 million on Kickstarter. Now, Google can show a completely different numbers. It can show $500,000, it can show $1.5 million. I can explain why you see sometimes the different numbers. And you're not going to get the $500,000 or $1.5 million according to Google Analytics. The reason for that is Google Analytics is cookie-based. So this means that if I went to the campaign and I backed the campaign on my computer, and then I woke up the next day and I thought, okay, I made a mistake. I'm going to my mobile device and canceling the campaign. You will still see the pledge on Google Analytics,
regardless of whether or not it was canceled.
Yeah, regardless if it was canceled or not, and also Google Analytics. It's a lot about privacy laws and so on. So some browsers or Google, in some countries, they don't track the cookies, so you will not get you will not see, if someone backs your campaign, you will not see it on Google Analytics. And also other technical issues that makes it, I wouldn't say completely inaccurate. It shows the trends, or if you have a really crazy day on Tuesday, you would see that on Google Analytics, but the numbers would not be the same. Sometimes you could see 30-40% difference between Google Analytics and Kickstarter.
But I'm just going to push you on this point a little bit, because it's definitely something that frustrates us and definitely a lot of other makers. You never get all of your data from Kickstarter either.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
You have. That's one of the reasons we're doing a lot of heavy lifting and technology and tracking and keeping stuff on ourselves. And as you say, sometimes you don't have the data. Usually you go into a new campaign, you don't know what's happening in the past.
Yeah.
You go to Google Analytics and trying to understand, again, maybe the numbers will not be accurate, but you see what's the trends, what's working and what's not, and according to that, start to operate. Yeah, but there's no perfect, even Kickstarter is not perfect, as you know. You get false credit cards and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. We don't,
at the end,
Yeah.
towards the back end, yeah. But I mean, that's a different issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the original question, so knowing all of this, so choosing, if you want to choose a partner to do your ads or be your marketeer, if number one is being success based, what is number two?
Success based, I would definitely ask for references for campaigns. Maybe I'm not sure the category is that important, but I would try to see if he worked with if you're doing a bag, maybe he did a campaigns or design, trying to see that there's some overlap.
Mm-hmm.
I think games is one thing, and design and tech is another thing. And there's other categories. So if someone did is really good at the games campaign, I'm not sure he will be good at design and tech and so on. So talk to people. As you know, numbers are important, but there's other things besides numbers. So definitely reach out to the campaigners that work with them. Ask for references. How was the communication?
Yeah.
Was it fair?
That's key.
Did he?
Right.
So yeah, a reference,
And
definitely a reference, and maybe how much they charge, also important.
Sure, I think those are those are really important. And I would add on top of that, whether the experience of dealing with them was a positive one, and that goes to communication as well. But that's also about whether or not you're dealing with people who seem like they're in it with you. And we've had experiences on both sides with people who the communication wasn't good enough, and then that caused trouble all the way throughout the campaign. There was one case where we wanted to stop ads. It took us 2 days to stop the ads, which was insane. Yeah. And that's about communication, and then about how you have.
Yeah, I want to add something really quick, really important, that maybe it's, I would say it's maybe the most important part that I didn't mention.
Yeah.
I would definitely will have to have an abort section. Like if you,
an abort section.
An abort, I want to cancel the contract. If you're going to reach $1 million and you accidentally chose the wrong agency, and after 5 days you're not happy and you cannot abort the contract, you're dead. Actually,
Right.
The campaign is doomed.
So let's try to run down a couple of tips for people. Let's say I'm a creator, either new or a serial creator, and let's say I want to have the $1 million project.
Okay.
Give me a rundown. So we have one that's really important. It needs to be a unique idea. I think that's key for us. For us, we at some point had a thought that you could throw something out into Kickstarter, even if it's not all that unique. Call it unique in some way.
Yeah.
But we've had failures with that as well. So being unique, I think, is important.
So there's
what else?
There's a few things that we usually look for. Unique idea, something you can get. The Kickstarter is full with bags, watches, and shoes, and maybe another category that I don't remember right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going for those categories, or wallet, try to come up with something really creative, something unique.
Would you go for another bag project or another watch project, or would you say there's
I wouldn't
so many
say
of
no on the spot. I need to see. So another thing that we look for is the creative, like the video, the images, the branding. If that's super cool, you already know this is gonna fly because the video is crazy cool. Or on the other hand, pricing is really good. Like let's say for example, a watch that you can get it on e-commerce for $200. They're selling that only for $100. There's an opening here for success.
Right.
And I would say, so we're looking 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3 of the things I mentioned. And besides that, you need to have deep pockets. Like you need to have a crazy marketing budget. Because besides that, as we said before, like Facebook ads is going to be the main factor of funds coming in, and you want to have you want to push your campaign towards the $1 million with that. This is it. I would say, like really quick.
So a unique idea. You have to have a really unique idea. You have to have the funds in order to be able to push it, or have an idea that's similar to other things, but with really neat creative.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty simple, right?
Really simplifying it, like keeping
Cool. Well, I mean, I guess the only thing that's missing in my mind is, it almost seems too simple. So like, what's the crazy X factor that we always either keep missing or every so often that we find? Like, I know it's a bit of a tough question. You may not be able to answer it. Like, I guess if you knew it, like we would all be better off. But what is that X factor? Like we don't have to go. They're all of like these famous projects out there. Like Fidget Cube or what have you. I could never have guessed, to be perfectly honest. So I don't want to put you on the spot because I don't think that's something anyone can answer. But if you have a thought on that, on what the X factor is, share away.
As you say, Fidget Cube, I think similar to CleanseBot, well, different numbers. Fidget Cube is here, CleanseBot is in the middle. People said, what's this? Like, who's going to back this? And
seriously.
And it's very hard to predict what's going to work. It's very hard to predict. But the crazy ideas, the thing that this is crazy, it's not going to work. So you might want to move that to the maybe $1 million and above. So
all right. So here's the good advice: if you have a crazy idea, that may be the ticket. Maybe. Okay. Cool. So maybe we'll just spend 5 minutes just on Green Inbox.
Okay.
So what are your plans for 2019 with Green Inbox, and the way that you see your services catering to creators?
So we made a shift, and I think we're going to continue doing we're going to continue doing Facebook ads for Kickstarter, and hopefully we can do more campaigns that reach $1 million or more. So this is how we see the near future.
And just a little bit into the nitty gritty. So will you work together in concert with other marketers on the same project? Okay,
so we did that in the past, and I think I'm not sure if it's a Facebook technical thing or us being maybe a bit more aggressive and paying more attention to the numbers. But I don't think it's smart to have two agencies working, doing ads for you as a creator. I think you're gonna.
That's very good advice.
You're gonna pay double or close to that on the same backer because we target the backer, another agency is targeting the backer. So I would recommend going with one. If it's not working, abort the contract, give a chance to another agency. But I wouldn't recommend doing a party of agencies. Eventually, I think no one is committed.
So you would say go with whoever you go with? Like we went over how to choose them, and then go with whoever you go with throughout the entire campaign.
Yeah, give a chance. Give them a chance. See what's the returns. If it's not working, try another agency. What people are doing right now, they're feeling maybe discomfort about the agency that are already working on the campaign, and they say, okay, we'll keep them and we'll hire another agency. And after a few days, they hire another agency, and then you have like 3 or 4 agencies and no one is committed because you have so many people working on the campaign, and it's impossible to be profitable and to bring backer in good rates. I have a feeling this is like the best bit of advice that we got right towards the end of our chat. I think that's really, really solid insider input that I think that we can all use.
So we've made that mistake several times. We've worked with I don't know how many agencies on the same project. So that's fantastic. So will you work throughout the entire project, day one to all the way to the end?
We did that for a few projects. Yeah, CleanseBot, for example, we started at day one, and we worked the entire campaign. Maybe right now we will try to, the campaigns that most of the campaigns that we did recently that reached $1 million, we started working on them when they were around $300,000, $400,000. Even a campaign that had 6 days and were $400,000, and we said, hey, let's work together. We'll take you to $1 million. He was super skeptic.
Was he?
Yeah. Wouldn't you be skeptic?
Skeptical? Yes, absolutely I would be. But I mean, every creator I think is born skeptical, for sure.
Yeah, so I think we would prefer to work with campaigns that already reach significant traction, or, as I said before, something that you cannot get anywhere else.
Right. I think that's wonderful advice. All right. So Eran, thank you so much for joining us. I think this was a fantastic chat, and I think we got a lot of insider information that I don't think we've had before. Okay. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys, and follow along with us on our YouTube and on our Instagram as well, and join us next time. Cheers.